Having a day trip from Formentera to Ibiza was slightly unusual because most of the time sailing between these two Balearic islands is done by day trippers from Ibiza going over to enjoy Formentera's beautiful beaches. There are several competing ferry companies for the 14-mile trip. My company was Trasmapi, who operate twin-hull hydrofoils to do the journey in about 30 minutes, give or take the docking time. The channel between the islands is a busy one, with craft both large and small. As we approached Ibiza harbour, we slowed down just before the entrance to allow a very large motor yacht to exit. The Prince Abdul Aziz belongs to the Saudi royal family. It is about the 5th largest of its type in the world and can hold up to 64 guests, with a similar number of crew. I felt sorry for the fishermen caught in its wake. I was heading for the Alt Villa, or High Town, the old part of Ibiza perched on a hill within the fortified walls. In recent years, whole sections of the walls had been covered by scaffolding and tarpaulins, and I was pleased to see that the restoration work had been completed. Berths at the harbour are limited, so we had to wait for this Balearia ferry to make space for us at the dockside. There is a separate section of the harbour for leisure craft. The town had erected this statue to sailors just next to our berthing point. In the streets near the port there are souvenir shops and a traditional open-air market. The late 16th century fortified walls are 5 metres thick and were built to protect against Carthaginian and Turkish pirates. The coat of arms above the drawbridge is that of the Habsburg dynasty. Immediately through the entrance archway was the Patio d'Armes, or arms store, which had been used as a guardroom. Comfortable footwear is a must for the old cobbled streets. The buildings are largely residential, with some boutiques and quite a few cafes and restaurants. You have to be reasonably fit to wind your way up to the cathedral at the top. At some points the concrete used in restoration work could be seen, alongside the weather-beaten stone, showing why repairs had been needed. The walls provided a terrace walkway round much of the old town, allowing views back down to the harbour, south to the resorts of Ses Figueretes and Playa d'Embossa, and north over the lower town to the distant hills. flags represented Ibiza, Spain and the Balearic Islands respectively. The Cathedral of Our Lady of the Snows, as we see it today, dates back to the 18th century, but there had been religious buildings on the site for several centuries before that. The rampart of St Bernat, on one side of the cathedral square, gave a panoramic view off the port. From there I zigzagged my way back down through the old town. This hotel's name is a tribute to the corsairs who defended the city from pirates. The whole of the old town is a Unesco World Heritage Site. Spanish people love their cats, but in fact dogs are even more popular. This passage took me back down to the new town, and there I saw some fine buildings along the Paseo Valle de Rey before returning to the port. The sail back to La Sabina was again fortunately a smooth one, because the passage between the islands can get quite choppy at times.